All right, guys, I'm back with part 2 of my video series on working with clients and being an independent creative. Whether you're starting a business or you're deciding to, like me, after a career in the corporate world or consulting, do your own thing. One of the most satisfying but also frustrating things about being an independent creative is that you do have a direct relationship with your client. This means that you're going to be dealing with issues and opportunities up close. Well, I'll focus on the positives here first. One of the most satisfying things is knowing that I have this direct relationship. I'm not having to cut through red tape and procedure and policy to get my message across and communicate. However, one of the downsides to being an independent creative, particularly in industrial design, and I suppose in UX and other design fields, is that when a project's completed, you may hand it over the wall and not really know whether it's going to get made or what the destiny of that piece of work will be. In addition to that, sometimes in your work, working with clients directly, we can come across a few issues. And I want to talk about 3 specific things that came up. Now, this is a request from one of our awesome patrons, Lori, who recently was working with clients and had some questions about how to deal with scope creep, meaning the terms of the project changing, pricing, and I wanted to throw in some other things that I found beneficial that I've learned over the years as well. So the first thing I want to talk about when working with clients is the importance of being clear. So like any relationship, communication is fundamental to the success of that relationship. Being clear upfront and communicating along the way can save you a lot of headache and frustration. Decide what you're doing and when you're doing it upfront and communicate this clearly to your client. You'll also want to communicate this in writing where possible. So start practicing brushing off those college writing skills if you took that writing class, because communicating in writing actually presents a situation in which you can hold each other to the standard you established up front. It's okay to get help if you need. If you have a friend who has some legal knowledge, or if you have the means to hire a lawyer to help you work out that contract, it's okay to get help up front to make sure that you're not getting screwed over and that your client's also protected as well. So that's my first tip. Be clear and communicate upfront about your deliverables and when and what you're doing. Set that expectation up front and hold yourself and your client to those expectations. The next point is price for value, not time. And the reason I say this is creativity is a non-linear process. Not only is the process messy, unpredictable, and sometimes obfuscated by the way we work for our clients, but you're also drawing on years of experience. As I mentioned in the first video, I've had years of corporate experience working in a consultancy, starting my own business, and now working as an independent creative. When a client hires me, they're not hiring me only for the time I'm putting into the current project, but rather all of that experience that I've had over the years that I can put into that finished piece. If you really think about design work in terms of the value you create as opposed to the deliverable you give your client, it changes your mindset. What you're doing with your creation is giving your client an opportunity to then turn a profit on that work. And so your pricing should reflect the opportunity you're now creating for your client. If you're successful, they're successful. If you're successful, they could turn millions. So it's a small investment up front for your client to invest in you for this greater opportunity. As a young designer, even as I worked in a consultancy, I would take freelance jobs. And for me, there was a lot of hesitation up front. How do I price this? Is it okay that I'm pricing it this much? And you kind of go through this experience of potentially what I could call imposter syndrome. Am I really worth this much money? The answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. What I've also found in my experience personally is that when a client insists on a lower price, really what they're after is value for their money. A few ways you can reassure your client is by touting your experience, but also building a relationship with them, reassuring them. As I said before, communicate up front, communicate expectations, guarantee them that they will be satisfied with your work, or rather that your work will create value for them. This puts responsibility on you, but also should assuage any concerns that your client might have. In my negotiations and deciding pricing for a project, I tend to aim high. The reason I price high is to make sure that my client knows that they're getting something of value. There's a psychology, if you will, that affects the perception of something you are investing in when the price is set appropriately. If the price is too low, your client may wonder, what's up with this person? And if you price too high, the client may think of you as being too expensive and maybe even cocky or being too haughty. Figuring out that sweet spot may feel awkward. It may take some trial and error, and you may find that some clients pass on you because they're able to work with a student or someone who can do the same job cheaper. And that's okay. I do believe in saying no to make room for yes. There are times when I've worked with clients that have nickeled and dimed me into a lower price, and usually those are the ones that are more demanding than those that are comfortable with a higher price. And it goes back to this idea of value for investment. Your client's investing in you, you're investing your time in the project, and making sure that those two ideas meet at a satisfactory point is essential. Okay, the last thing I've learned of many things that I want to share with you today is that it's okay to break up with your client. Sometimes you may find yourself in a relationship or a spot where communication's broken down, where there has been scope creep, meaning what you agreed on is now not what you're working on. And it can feel frustrating because, again, you've agreed to a price and a timeline, and your client now wants more. So what do you do? In my initial bids, I often provide a provision for changes as well as additional time. I tend not to disclose or reveal pricing up front per hour because that can discourage clients from wanting to work with you. If I know that I'm hiring a designer for $100 an hour and I'm not sure how long they're going to take, that can feel intimidating for a client. Whereas if I tell my client a fixed price, hey, this is going to cost $2,000, they may feel more satisfied with that fixed quantity. However, as I said before, the creative process is non-linear. Things change, unexpected things happen. So including provisions for changes, as well as the potential to bill hourly, if there is a change, can help create some expectation of what's ahead. If you find yourself in a position where the scope is creeping on a project and you haven't made those provisions in your initial proposal, just refer back to the proposal. Say, hey, this is what we agreed on, and this is what I'm delivering. Now here's an opportunity for you to show your professionalism and communicate clearly by saying, I'm happy to deliver on X under these circumstances, and present perhaps a new opportunity to add value to the project. Simply put, this means assigning a dollar value to the work that you're proposing be done in addition to the initial project scope. Again, like I said earlier, if you need help, ask for help. You can always ask another designer, or if you have a friend who is versed in legalese, you can ask them to help you out as well. Having a contract lawyer, if you can afford it, is also valuable. Okay, so those are 3 things I've learned of many in my career. If you have any additional questions, you can ask below. Remember, be clear and communicate up front. Price for value, not time. And it's okay to break up with your client if things are going sideways. Just do it in a way that doesn't screw them over and leave them in a lurch. And also present some opportunity to create additional value by communicating professionally and clearly with them throughout the process. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, thanks for watching. Feel free to join us in the Discord. That information should be below, or leave a comment if you have additional questions or experiences that you'd like to share as well. That's it for today, guys. Take care. And as I always say, passion is the process, and I'll see you guys next time.